If I work backwards, what took place in September was a big international conference on Somalia where a compact was endorsed. And the compact is part of the New Deal process. And at the end of the day, the compact brings together the priorities identified for each of the peace and state building goals and how are we going to work our way towards getting to those priorities. Now, before we got to the compact, it involved a huge amount of work in Somalia and in Nairobi between the international partners and the Somali Federal Government. So my role in this whole endeavor, let's call it, was providing headquarter support to the EU team, which is based in Nairobi, but which is working on Somalia. And since about the end of April, right until the 16th of September, we were, as lead donor for the international community, in virtually daily consultations with the government, civil society, the Somali parliament, regions in Somalia, in trying to shape and define this compact. So the compact has basically three main chapters. The first one is setting out where is Somalia, what was the process of actually getting to the document, this compact, and what does this all mean? The second part of the compact identifies the priorities for the peace and state building goals. It looks at inclusive politics, security, justice, economic foundations, and revenue and services. Those are the 5 PSGs. And so for each of those 5 PSGs, through special working groups, which each time had the same type of participants, you had internationals and Somalis, and within Somalis, it's government, parliament, civil society. We identified the top 3 priorities for each of the peace and state building goals. So for security, we have 3 priorities, and then within those 3 priorities, you will see that we have worked out some milestones which we want to achieve in 2014. A second very important chapter of the compact is what is called the aid principles, which is where we spell out what the development partners are going to be doing in terms of no longer doing business as usual. How are we going to use the country systems more often? How are we going to ease our development cooperation with, how are we going to diminish the duplication, how are we going to increase coordination, etc. And this has direct implications on how DevCo works in Somalia. Because at the end of the day, what we are seeing now is a plethora of interventions from the EU side, the member state side, and others going into Somalia, making it virtually impossible to track what is happening. And part of the compact means let's try and bring it all together and more structured so that we can actually see who is doing what, so that the Somali government feels more ownership and starts being able to deliver itself on the ground to its people. So a direct consequence of the compact for DevCo is that, first of all, we need to see whether our 11th European Development Fund cooperation with Somalia, if the 3 sectors that have been identified fit into the compact's priorities. Now, we've already been doing the internal exercise, and it seems that there isn't a contradiction. So our 11th EDF programming will be fully in line with the compact's priorities. That's the first step. The second step is that we also need to look at what are we doing with the non-EDF flows into the country. We have thematic budget lines like EIDHR, we have non-state actor support, we have issues on water, etc. We need to make sure that whenever we are doing an intervention through that, it also at least doesn't contradict what is in the compact. A key element of the compact is also, as I mentioned, that we want to diminish the number of flows of development into the system. And one of the things that we are strongly working with the World Bank and the UN on is the putting together of what is called multi-partner donor funds, which at the end of the day means that there will be donors coming together under one package aimed at specific elements. Rather than 20 different contracts being signed, we'll have several big ones all coming in through the same door. This all in the hope of simplifying life for the Somalis.